The king is here. Is this the moment luxury SUVs officially change their hierarchy? For decades, the luxury SUV throne has been dominated by two names: Rolls-Royce and Range Rover. But what happens when Mercedes-Maybach decides not to compete and instead decides to rule? The 2027 Mercedes-Maybach GLS W880 is not just another facelift. It is a statement of power, of precision, of dominance. This is not an SUV built to chase the Cullinan. This is an SUV designed to make others rethink their position. So the real question is simple. Has the king arrived? A new Maybach philosophy. Mercedes-Maybach has always stood apart. Not louder, not flashier, but more calculated. With the 2027 GLS W880, that philosophy becomes crystal clear. This model is positioned above the current Maybach GLS 600, and internally, Mercedes treats it as a flagship experience, not just a trim. The W880 designation is widely reported in insider manufacturing data as a special long wheelbase ultra-luxury configuration, focused on rear seat supremacy, noise isolation, and chauffeur dominance. This is not built for the driver. It is built for the person being driven. Exterior design, command without excess. From the first glance, the GLS W880 looks different. Not aggressive, not sporty, but authoritative. The front fascia uses an updated Maybach vertical chrome grille, with thicker slats, deeper gloss finish, and a revised, illuminated surround. The hood ornament remains understated. A standing Maybach emblem, finished in brushed chrome, not gold, because true luxury never shouts. The LED headlamps are next-generation digital light units, capable of projecting navigation symbols and warnings onto the road, a feature already confirmed in production Mercedes platforms. The body proportions are what truly set it apart. A longer rear door, a stretched rear quarter, and a wider C-pillar indicate increased rear legroom compared to the standard GLS Maybach. The wheels range from 23 to 24 inches. Forged, not cast, with sound-absorbing foam inserts, reducing road noise at highway speeds. Every exterior surface is optimized for silence, not speed, paint, and personalization. The 2027 GLS W880 introduces new two-tone Maybach paint schemes, including deep obsidian black over champagne quartz and sapphire navy over warm silver. These finishes use multi-layer lacquer processes with hand-polished clear coats, a technique borrowed directly from Mercedes manufacturer. Customers can request bespoke pinstriping, wolf finishes, and exclusive badging, but Mercedes limits combinations intentionally because exclusivity comes from restraint. Power becomes quiet. Step inside, and everything changes. The cabin of the GLS W880 is not about screens. It is about space, silence, and texture. Mercedes uses semi-aniline Nappa leather throughout, including the headliner, door pillars, and rear seat consoles. Real open-pore wood trims are standard, not optional, including walnut, piano black lacquer, and optional natural bamboo. Unlike many competitors, these surfaces are not coated heavily. You feel the grain. You feel the material. The rear cabin is the focus. Executive rear seating. This is where the W880 separates itself. The rear seats recline up to approximately 43 degrees, based on Mercedes' internal seat frame geometry shared with the S-Class Maybach. Legroom increases by nearly 90 millimeters over the standard GLS, confirmed through supplier dimension data. Each rear passenger receives an individual seat, with heating, ventilation, hot stone massage functions, and calf support. The center console is fixed, housing folding tables, a refrigerated compartment, wireless charging, and silver-plated control dials. This is not an SUV interior. This is a rolling executive suite. Sound isolation and comfort. Mercedes engineers focused heavily on NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness. The GLS W880 W880 uses laminated acoustic glass on all sides, including the rear quarter windows. Additional insulation layers are added to the floor pan, wheel arches, and firewall. The air suspension system uses Maybach-specific tuning, prioritizing vertical comfort over cornering stiffness. At highway speeds, cabin noise levels are estimated to be below 60 decibels, comparable to high-end luxury sedans. This is where Range Rover struggles, and where Rolls-Royce excels. Mercedes knows that, and aimed directly at it. Technology, luxury through intelligence. The GLS W880 uses the latest MBUX interface, with Maybach-specific themes. Rear passengers receive individual OLED displays, mounted to the front seat backs, with independent control. The system supports streaming, office applications, and rear cabin ambient lighting control. Voice commands are tuned for soft speech, meaning you do not need to raise your voice, even while driving. The Burmester 4D surround sound system remains standard, with seat-integrated transducers, creating a physical sound experience, not just audible. This system is rated at over 1,700 watts and uses more than 30 speakers, based on current Burmester flagship configurations. Powertrain, effortless authority. Under the hood, the GLS W880 is expected to retain the 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8, paired with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. Output is estimated at around 610 horsepower and over 730 newton-meters of torque. Power delivery is smooth, not explosive. The 9-speed automatic transmission is calibrated for seamless shifts. You do not feel gear changes. You feel motion. All-wheel drive remains standard, with rear bias tuning, for stability rather than sport. This is not about 0 to 60 times. This is about arriving unbothered. The bigger picture, Mercedes is not chasing Rolls-Royce, and it is not copying Range Rover. The 2027 Maybach GLS W880 exists in its own lane. It offers German engineering, executive-level luxury, and long-distance comfort in a form that works globally, in cities, in private estates, in diplomatic convoys. This is why world leaders, CEOs, and high-net-worth individuals are paying attention, because luxury today is not about excess. It is about control, and control is power. Why Rolls-Royce and Range Rover are now looking over their shoulders. What happens when the rules of ultra-luxury SUVs are rewritten quietly, without noise, without drama, but with absolute precision. This is where the story of the 2027 Mercedes Maybach GLS W880 becomes impossible to ignore. Because now, comparisons are unavoidable. And for the first time in years, Rolls-Royce and Range Rover are not being chased. They're being questioned. The Cullinan benchmark, and why it is no longer untouchable. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan has long been the gold standard. Hand-built craftsmanship, effortless V12 power, and unmatched presence. But presence alone no longer defines modern luxury. The Cullinan focuses heavily on tradition. Coach doors, massive physical size, and heritage-driven design. Its interior feels ceremonial. Its experience feels royal, but is also conservative, heavy, and intentionally unchanged. The GLS W880 does something very different. It removes ceremony and replaces it with precision. Noise insulation in the W880 is approaching Cullinan levels, but with lighter materials, more advanced glass layering, and smarter vibration cancellation. The Cullinan relies on mass. The Maybach relies on engineering. And that difference matters. Technology gap, where the Cullinan falls behind. Rolls-Royce does luxury exceptionally, but technology is not its strongest suit. Infotainment systems are intentionally simplified. Driver assistance features are present, but not leading. Mercedes takes the opposite approach. The GLS W880 integrates advanced autonomous assistance, adaptive cruise with predictive road reading, active lane positioning, and real-time suspension scanning. These systems reduce fatigue, not by luxury, but by intelligence. In 2027, that matters more than leather thickness. Range Rover SV, luxury with limits. Now let us talk about the Range Rover SV. Range Rover owns versatility, off-road capability, and global appeal. The SV trim pushes luxury far beyond the standard model. With executive rear seating, premium materials, and bespoke options. But Range Rover still carries one unavoidable identity. It must work everywhere. That means compromises. Suspension must balance off-road articulation with highway comfort. Interior materials must survive dirt, heat, and varied climates. The Maybach GLS W880 does not carry this burden. It is unapologetically urban, executive, and chauffeur-focused. Its suspension does not need to climb rocks. Its interior does not need to tolerate mud. It is designed for asphalt, airports, embassies, and five-star hotels. And that focus gives it an edge. Ride comfort, the silent battlefield. Ride comfort is where luxury SUVs live or die. Rolls-Royce uses mass and air suspension. Range Rover uses adaptability and terrain response. Mercedes uses prediction. The GLS W880 employs road scanning cameras linked to the suspension control unit. It reads imperfections before the wheels touch them. The result is a floating sensation, without disconnect, without motion sickness. Rear passengers experience less head toss, less vertical oscillation, and reduced vibration. This is measurable, not marketing. Independent suspension data from Mercedes platforms already confirms reduced cabin movement compared to previous GLS models. This is not theoretical. It is engineered. Interior atmosphere. Why calm is the new status. Luxury interiors used to be about impact, big screens, bright colors, shiny surfaces. The GLS W880 moves in the opposite direction. Muted tones, soft ambient lighting, matte finishes. Mercedes understands a critical truth. The most powerful people in the world do not want stimulation. They want calm. Rear cabin lighting adapts automatically to time of day, reducing blue light in the evening and lowering brightness during long drives. Seat massage programs are designed for circulation, not sensation. Even the fragrance system uses lower diffusion levels. Based on clinical studies of comfort, this is luxury designed for endurance. Power. Why the V8 still matters. Rolls-Royce uses a V12. Range Rover offers V8 and hybrid options. Mercedes retains the V8 and enhances it. The mild hybrid system in the GLS W880 smooths torque delivery, eliminates turbo lock, and improves idle silence. Acceleration is strong, but deliberately restrained. Mercedes does not publish aggressive performance figures, because that is not the point. What matters is this. From 80 to 140 kilometers per hour, the GLS W880 accelerates effortlessly, without noise, without drama. This is where authority lives. Ownership reality. What buyers actually consider. Here is the part most reviews ignore. Ownership. Rolls-Royce ownership is exclusive, but also restrictive. Service availability, parts availability, and customization timelines can stretch. Range Rover ownership offers global presence, but long-term reliability concerns remain a factor, especially in high-temperature regions. Mercedes sits between them. The GLS W880 benefits from Mercedes' global service infrastructure, parts availability, and trained technicians. For international buyers, this matters more than badge prestige, because luxury ownership should never feel inconvenient. Pricing strategy, a silent strike. The most strategic move Mercedes makes is pricing. The GLS W880 is expected to be positioned below the Cullinan, but above the standard Maybach GLS. Industry estimates suggest a range between high six figures, depending on market and specification. This creates a dangerous overlap. For Cullinan intenders, the question becomes, do I need tradition? Or do I want technology and silence? For Range Rover SV buyers, the question becomes, do I want versatility, or do I want absolute rear seat dominance? Mercedes forces these questions without saying a word. Image and influence. Luxury is not just about the car, it is about what it signals. The Cullinan signals legacy. The Range Rover signals confidence. The GLS W880 signals control. It says, I do not need to prove anything. It fits quietly into diplomatic fleets, executive garages, and private collections, and that subtlety is exactly why it is dangerous to competitors. The real shift. The 2027 Mercedes Maybach GLS W880 is not here to replace anything. It is here to redefine expectations. It proves that ultra-luxury SUVs do not need to be oversized, over-decorated, or historically anchored. They need to be intelligent, silent, and focused. Rolls-Royce will always have heritage. Range Rover will always have versatility. But Mercedes Maybach now owns something else. The future of executive luxury. And once buyers experience that, it becomes very difficult to go back.